Hey, what's going on, guys? What's going on, guys? I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent black. Can you guys let me know? Actually, I decided to try something out and actually do this while I'm actually on the road and driving. And I want to know if everybody can hear my conversation. So if you could give me a quick yes, let me know that my audio is coming through okay. Then I'll keep talking. If it gets to the point where you can't hear me, then I'll just do something that actually makes more sense as opposed to me trying to do the impossible and talk to you while I'm on the road. So anyway, how's everybody doing today? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're investing consistently, and I hope that your stock pool is getting as big as my belly's been getting from eating all. And anyway, I wanted to mention that there is a stock that I've been using as an income driver called Solar Edge. And this company is it's obviously a solar company. And a lot of that was due to some changes in tax credits and things like that related to solar. And so Solar Edge, though, I think is still a decent long-term investment. I think that the price point now is clearly 10 to 15% better than the price point you would have paid yesterday. And also, if you're into selling stock options on stock, Solar Edge is a great income driver. And so feel free to go and take a look at it. Not investing advice, but it is a stock that I'm invested in. And when the price went down today, I did buy some more shares. Not telling you what to do, but this is what I'm doing. And a lot of times, what tends to happen is that when a stock crashes, they have what they call a what do you call it? A dead cat bounce. And so the dead cat bounce can occur when a stock has a big drop and the market loves to overreact. So when the market overreacts, the stock ends up actually having a little bit of a boost after the major decline is over. So we shall see what happens with Solar Edge. But at the very least, I had plenty of put options on my stock. I always protect most of my investments. And then also on top of that, there is the income earning that the stock earns make for the declines. I kind of cushion the fall a little bit. Now, with that said, how many of you give me a yes or no if you saw that Donald Trump is selling these cell phones now? He calls it T1 Mobile, which I guess that's a play on T-Mobile, and T1 obviously stands for Trump because our president is probably the most famous narcissist in history. Right? He's again, I don't care if you like him or not. If you don't like him, I told you I try to stay kind of neutral. I don't believe in Democrats or Republicans. They're all working equally hard to destroy the government. They're working equally hard to ruin the nation's finances. The Biden administration, some of their policies were ridiculous. They caused that inflation. The way they handled the pandemic financially was an absolute mess. It was a complete shit show. They destroyed millions of businesses, ruined people's lives, and and really ruined a whole generation of young people. I don't know if anybody has any kids in the house, but has anybody noticed how the kids are different since the pandemic, especially the ones who were teenagers during that time? Anybody else notice that? So it's like you can't really look at either administration honestly or either party and point to these amazing, glorious things that they've done. I look at it as all of y'all are just anti-American. And, if you look at the deficit and the amount of debt they're taking on, it's incredibly unhealthy. It's gonna really harm this country. All the experts are telling them this, but we don't elect experts. We don't pick the smart people to run the country. We pick dumbasses who sound good on a microphone, like Donald Trump or Joe Biden, who could barely remember his own wife's name. And and would Kamala have been better? I don't know. It's hard. The bottom. It's hard to. It's easy to be better than the bottom. So I don't know. I don't know if Kamala would have been better. I think it really comes down to whether or not Kamala could have been the kind of leader who was independent enough to do what the country really needs, or if she's just a financial puppet like all the other politicians. All these politicians, the white ones, the black ones, it don't matter, Democrat, Republican, they're pretty much owned by the corporations and wealthy people. And so maybe it's better to be financially controlled by George Soros than it is to be financially controlled by Elon Musk. But at the end of the day, either way, both parties end up looking ridiculous. But Donald Trump is selling these freaking cell phones, and it's called the T1 phone. And the price, if you want to get a phone, I think the cost of the monthly plan is $47.45. Does anybody know why the phone costs $47.45? Can anybody guess? Guess in the chat. Tell me if you know why the Donald Trump T1 phone costs $47.45. And let me keep letting me know if you can hear me. Let me know if the audio is coming through okay, because I'm driving. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. I don't normally do stuff like this while I drive. Yeah, it's 47-45 because those are the presidencies that he was the 45th president and the 47th president. Good job, Kyle. I see you. I can peek down every now and then at the phone. Yeah, yeah. So so basically, because he was the 47th and the 45th president, that's why it's 47-45. And notice they did not say 45-47. They could have saved people $2, but hey, if you can get an extra $2 out of your goofy constituents, go for it. And so the phone plan, it's pretty much Trump is interesting. Trump to me is a janky kind of businessman in the sense that it's not that he's terribly bad at business. I don't believe that. Everyone says, oh, he's really broke and he's just a terrible businessman all the way around. That's not true. If you look at his um, history, if you studied him the way I have, I studied, I read The Art of the Deal when I was 19 years old. That was his famous book. He's not a dumb man. He's really not, and I think that when you call him a dumb man, it honestly exposes I'm not gonna say I don't want to be a defender. I'm not here to attack, but it really kind of speaks to your lack of inability to look at things objectively. That's what it says. When you say he's dumb, I don't know if you might say he's an asshole. If you say he's an asshole, I'm gonna say absolutely. If you say he's a narcissist, I'm gonna say yeah, probably. If you say that he's got he doesn't have the personality, the psychological disposition to be a good president, I'm gonna say yeah, you're probably right. But if you say he's dumb or he's a bad businessman, I'm gonna challenge you on that because the man even before he was president, he was literally flying in a jumbo jet that he owned for many years. If you're a better business person, go figure out how to get a jumbo jet with your name on the side, right? Or if you go to his hotel, that hotel is super nice. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Trump Plaza, but it's R. Kelly and all those a lot of Jennifer Hudson and people like that used to stay there all the time. It's like super nice. It's like super massively luxurious. It's crazy. So again, I think that sometimes the Democrat Republican stuff makes us a little bit dumb, and not able to really look at information and really process things. So here's my take on the Trump phone. First off, I'm not gonna buy a Trump phone. Do I believe Trump was on Epstein's list? Yeah, of course he was. Why would you ever think Trump wasn't on Epstein's list? What makes you think that he wasn't on Epstein's list? He was Epstein's buddy. Of course he was on Epstein's list. When those guys were in their 40s and 50s, they were two 45, 50-year-old billionaires who were running around having sex with 25-year-old women who like billionaires. There's nothing surprising about that. There's nothing illogical about that. There's nothing odd or unfamiliar about that. I mean, how many of you think it's plausible that two 50-year-old billionaires that are single, or at least think that they're single, or at least they're billionaires, would be engaged in sexual activity with young, pretty girls? The answer is yes. It's quite plausible, right? Now, I think the thing that you have to prove, though, is that all those girls were underage. That's the part that requires some proof, right? There has to be proof that he was sleeping with 16-year-olds or 14-year-olds or whatever they say that he's doing. Just because you went to Epstein Island doesn't, in my opinion, mean that you were doing what Epstein was doing. Just like Diddy, just because you went to a Diddy party, Denzel, I'm sure, has gone to a Diddy party at some point. Al Sharpton loves Diddy parties, but then again, that's Al Sharpton, so I can't defend any of that. Who else? Will Smith, Oprah Winfrey. A lot of people have been to Diddy parties. So going to a Diddy party does not make you Diddy. Going to a Diddy party does not make you Diddy. Just like going to an Epstein Island does not make you Epstein. So I don't know though. I mean, I think that proof is required, and honestly, I just don't care. I just don't care. I don't care about people's sex life. What I care more about when it comes to Trump, here's what I care about. His tariff policy is, it should be called the tariffable policy, the tariffable, because it's tariffable. It's tariffable. It's terrible for the American economy. It's terrible for the American consumer. It's terrible for global trade. So the tariff policy is bad. It's not thought out carefully. It's shockingly ignorant to see somebody who's a sitting president who's that dumb about economics, right? It's shockingly surprising to me that you have a president that understands economics or has such an unfamiliarity with basic economic principles that he doesn't understand what he's doing when it comes to tariffs, and that he can unilaterally destroy the global economy and nobody like stops and says, "Hey, dude, like that's not good. Like you're not helping anybody by doing that." Like that part's a little bit weird to me. Um, what else about Trump? I don't think that Trump is very good. I think that there's an ethical dilemma regarding his ability to use the White House as his personal piggy bank. I think the idea, and what really needs to happen is you need to take the money out of politics. You need to stop letting rich people come in and just buy up your public office, because what they're going to do is they're going to rob the piggy bank. They're going to rob the piggy bank. So now it's Elon Musk who's, taking a lot of the benefits from the government. Pretty soon it'll be somebody else. It'll be some Democratic Party billionaire who's going to get all the government contracts, who's going to come in and make himself a trillionaire on the backs of the American people. And that's your real issue. Really, what Trump is doing is basically, it's like, imagine if you have a neighborhood where you have like a lot of women that are sleeping with men that have money. They're sleeping with rich men so they can get their money. And then imagine if there's like one woman who says, rather than trying to date men that have money and trying to marry them and all this other stuff, why don't we just advertise it? Why don't I just put up and just say, hey, if you give me $1,000, I'll let you sleep with me, and just make it simple. Cut out the middleman. Cut out the pretend. Let's stop pretending like this is a virtuous neighborhood. This is not a virtuous neighborhood. This is a neighborhood where if you got enough money, you can get some. Well, if a person did that, then everyone would say, "Oh my God, you're such a whore. You're such a floozy. What's wrong with you?" But really, that person's just taking what you're already doing and making it blatant, right? They're taking your hypocrisy and they're rubbing it right in your face. They're taking that which was whispered about and saying it out loud. You get what I'm saying? I don't know. Let me know if you get what I'm saying. And also, let me know if you can hear me okay, because I'm driving and talking while I'm talking and driving and all this other stuff. So that's what I see when it comes to Trump. Is I just see a guy who represents the worst that America is. He doesn't represent something that America has never been. Um, he just represents something that America has never been out loud. America has never been, our politicians have never been so blatantly capitalistic. But if you remember, you had Nancy Pelosi and her husband. I think Nancy Pelosi and her husband made $100 million while she was in office. How the hell? I mean, I'm trying to figure this out seriously. I want y'all to think about this. How is it that a politician that makes $250,000 a year can be worth $100 million? Can anybody tell me? Is there one person in this room right now that's listening? How many of you right now are worth $100 million? Yes or no? Give me a yes or no. Are you worth? Or give me a yes if you are worth less than $100 million. If you're not worth $100 million, put a yes in the chat. Like, yes, I am worth less than $100 million. I throw that out there because, do you understand how rare that is? It's very rare. It's kind of crazy. It reeks of corruption when you have these politicians that aren't making that much money, but they're making a freaking killing on the back end. It's terrible. It's like my daddy was a cop. When my daddy was a cop back in the day, I remember he told me about how the New Orleans Police Department had a crazy corruption problem where literally the police would give drug dealers escorts when they bought their dope into town. You could get a police escort if you paid money for it, and so you had these cops who were making 13,000 a year, who were living in mansions, and nobody ever stopped and said, "How in the hell can a cop making 13,000 a year live in a $250,000 house?" Like nobody stopped and asked that question. And so the corruption, but the answer is obvious. The answer is obvious. It's corruption, and this corruption is part of the grift that will destroy the American economy. Look, I'm not telling you to like Elon Musk. I don't like the guy half the time either. But I can tell you that he's right about one thing. When he talked about this big, beautiful bill that Trump is trying to push through, he's calling it the big, beautiful bill. Ain't nothing beautiful about it. It's big, but it ain't beautiful. This big, beautiful bill it's marching America toward bankruptcy. This big, beautiful bill is marching America's economics right off a cliff. This big, beautiful bill is destroying the financial stability of this country in ways that will probably never be repaired. This big, beautiful bill is a big, beautiful abomination. That's what it is. It's a big abomination. The amount. What's really insane is before there was a time where you felt like you could rely on the Republicans to try to be fiscally responsible. Like you could not that they really were. They kind of will take care of the corporations more than they'll take care of poor people, and that becomes kind of a values driven assessment. But at the very least, the Republicans were the ones who would constantly claim that we were overspending, overspending, overspending. So the fact that you have both the Democrats and the Republicans doing the same damn thing tells you that all your politicians are stealing from you. All your politicians are robbing you. It was Elon Musk robbing you, probably. The man's worth $440 billion. So he probably, I'm sure he's making sure that he and his companies benefit too. So Musk is not off the table, But even a broken clock can be right twice a day. So in that particular context, Musk is correct in that bill is kind of crazy. Now maybe he had personal reasons to speak up against the bill, and that's the other thing too, right? You're really talking. It's really almost like a criminal who's testifying against another criminal, right? And just because it's a criminal testifying another criminal, it doesn't make the criminal right or make the criminal wrong. His credibility's right to be questioned, right? You're right to say, well, wait a minute, why are you testifying against the person that you used to be in cahoots with? Because what's really happening is you're hearing information from a person who probably would not be sharing that information if they had gotten what they wanted, right? Like if it's so really they're not mad about the ethical dilemma of what's going on. What they're mad, what they're really mad about is that they didn't get their piece of the pie, right? They're mad that they're not mad about the ethical dilemmas of robbing a bank. Like they're not looking at it like, oh, it's so wrong for you to rob this bank. What they're really saying is that we all robbed the bank together and I didn't get my cut. So therefore, I'm going to report the bank robbery and pretend like I'm an honest, law-abiding citizen. In a way, and really this happens a lot. I mean, I think about that even when I think about the Diddy testimony and everything else. Half the people testifying against Diddy were in deep cahoots with Diddy for a long time. Half the people testifying against Diddy benefited from Diddy. They were happy to be friends with Diddy. They were bragging about their relationship with Diddy. They were chasing down Diddy. They were looking for those Diddy parties. They were looking to be part of the freak offs. So really, and what's really interesting to me, because we don't know how to think in nuance all the time, or we don't take the time to critically think about things, is that we don't understand that, that number one, yes, they still have credibility, right? Of course you know exactly what happened because you were there. You were part of it. But at the same time, it's really fascinating to me how we'll try to sort people out into good and bad. Like we'll try to say that because you are testifying against the bad person, you must be a good person. No, half the time the people testifying against the bad person are also bad people who only found it convenient to pretend to be the good guy, so they would then be able to get out of their situation or to get revenge on somebody. Like half this stuff is all about revenge. A lot of that, Bill Cosby stuff is all about revenge. R. Kelly stuff about revenge. Diddy stuff about revenge. This stuff with Trump and Musk, revenge. Even dare I say, even the situation. I'm not going to talk about this much because I'm too close to it. I know too many people. But even I heard people who were there when Malcolm X fell out with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. When they told me the real deal. I had a brother. I talked to an older brother that I respect. His name was Mtume. He did that song "Juicy Fruit, Juicy," and he knew people who knew people, and he gave me the real deal. Like before Mtume died, Mtume said, "Man, let me tell you what that Malcolm X thing was really about." And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say much because Malcolm X is one of my greatest heroes, and so is Louis Farrakhan. So I'm not interested in addressing that too deeply. But I can say even when I heard that, I said, okay, that makes more logical sense. That makes more sense to me. The story that I hear did not make sense to me. The story that you just told me makes perfect sense because I understand how human beings are, right? So really, what I would say to you is, um, when it comes to the president and Trump, here's the deal. Look, as a finance guy, I get asked all the time, is it unethical or is it illegal for Trump to operate the way he's operating, when it comes to the stock market? The answer is yes, probably, absolutely. Is it unethical or is it illegal for him to manipulate the stock market the way that he does? Yeah, it probably is. Um, and so what I then come back to, being a pragmatist, is I say that this is a lesson on how the world works. And the lesson is that right and wrong don't matter as much as who has the power. Power is everything. Who's right and who's wrong really can become arbitrary because the people that have the power make the rules. He who has the gold makes the rules. Anybody heard that? Let me know if you know that saying. He who has the gold makes the rules. So powerful people get to decide what's ethical and what's not, what's bad and what's good. And it's unfortunate. It's not fair. It's not right. But the reason I say this for us as black people is because we get caught up in, well, that ain't right. That's not justice. That's not fair. And the reason I'm the guy who just says, okay, well, did you make sure that you put yourself in a position of financial security? The reason I just want to focus on what we need to focus on is because I've become a cynic over time. I don't believe the world cares whether you were right or whether you were wrong. But the world cares if you have power and if you don't. And so if you're using terms like black power, well, black power has to come with some power, right? Black power has to have two elements. It has to be black and it's got to have power. And so a lot of people think that black power is black screaming. Black screaming is not black power. A lot of people think black power is black protest. Black protests don't have a lot of black power. A lot of people think black power is just, black righteousness and everything. And I'm sorry, it's important to be righteous. It's important to, if you should protest and scream if you want to, that's fine. But that's not power. That's not what power comes from. Most power in America comes from your economics. That's what it is. Right now, when you see the president and his Democrat and Republican buddies up there doing what they want, they're doing this because they've accumulated economic power. And did they cheat to obtain it? Yes, they did. Absolutely. We know the history. We know how much money white people stole from us. We know the land they stole from us. We have evidence. We have proof. We know what they did to our ancestors. We know what they blocked us, opportunities they blocked us from. We know about all those things. And what they're basically saying to us, in my view, is they're saying, yeah. You've proven that you're right. You've proven that we took your stuff. But what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Do you have any power? Because in order to play this big boy game, you're going to have big boy, big girl power. Do you have any power? Or are you just a screaming 4-year-old who's yelling because somebody took their ice cream cone? Ain't nobody going to listen to you. So at the end of the day, black power and black economics must go hand in hand. At the very least, you should have enough economic power to protect yourself from the tyranny of economically powerful people who want to extract something from you. See, you ain't got to know enough karate to beat up everybody in the neighborhood, but you got to know enough kung fu to defend yourself when the bully decides he wants to take your lunch money. At the end of the day, if you look at the Donald Trumps of the world, and I analyze people closely, Donald Trump, if you study his history, people like him, and he's not the only one, there's a lot of Trumps out there. He's a bully. If you ask me if he's a bully, I'm going to say, yeah, he's probably a bully. Um, and bullies, they prey on weak people. Bullies prey on vulnerable people. Bullies don't respect you if you ain't got no real power, if you have no real options for yourself. If you can't defend yourself, then they're going to keep on beating you up and taking your lunch money. So here's the deal. Here's where I'm getting at. A lot of you have children that at some point, they're going to meet a Donald Trump. At some point, your kids are going to grow up, and they're gonna run into some little young white boy who runs a company who says, "I really like you, boy. You should come work for me." And what you have to really consider is, how do I prepare myself and my children for that reality where they're going to run into bullies that are going to want to exploit them due to their economic desperation. Like how many, like really, if you leave your children and your family economically desperate, then what you're doing is you sign them up for all various forms of exploitation. The Trumps are out there, the Diddies are out there, all kinds of people. And look at both of these guys, for example, and they were very good friends. They were at a lot of the same parties. Him and Sean were best buddies. what you'll find is that their number one tool of exploitation was finances. Their number one method for luring people in, using them up, screwing them over, dumping them off on the sidewalk was their financial power. And if you did not have enough money, if you didn't have enough money to stand up to those people, then you got humiliated. You would get screwed. You would get exploited. Look at how many people got used up at Bad Boy Records who are mad about it. You know, you thought your dreams were going to come true and somebody's going to sign you a record deal and give you $1 million in a day. And instead, you walked away with an STD because somebody done put a drug in your drink and a stick up your ass. And now you're going through life and you're mad. And it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And I can tell you that this is the way the world works, people. And I think it's very important for us to understand that. Like, you know, I remember when I was on that phone with Kanye West, and I remember when we were talking, Kanye got very disrespectful because he feels like if he has more money than you, he can talk to you any old kind of way. And what allowed me to stand up to him and tell him to get out of my face was the fact that I know how to go get money without him. I did not need his money. And I told him, I said, I don't need your money, man. I don't want your money. I don't want a nickel from you. I don't have the money that you have, but I have enough to take care of myself. So you're not, my mom was like, he's not, this is not a big break for me. This is not something that's some sort of life-changing event. No, this is me talking to another black man, hoping that we can build together. But if you don't know the decencies, the basics of decency and fundamental respect for other human beings, then I don't want you in my life. I don't want you around me if you're a bad person. I don't want you around me if you're evil. I don't want you around me if you're disrespectful. I don't want you around me if you're a jerk. I'm not gonna let you bully me. I'm a father, man. I want to be a man. So your financial security defends you from the bullies of the world. Your financial security protects you. So my question to you would be, why is financial security not the number one priority on your list? And who told you that financial security was impossible to achieve if you're black? Do you think that it's healthy to go into a capitalist cutthroat society where slavery is a very real thing and have no economic power whatsoever, no economic defense mechanisms at all in place? You think that's smart? You think that you're going to be better off that way? You think justice is going to save you? You think the government's going to save you? You think right and wrong is going to save you? Well, I can tell you, we've been crying for justice for a long time. We've been asking for help from the government for a long time. We have been on the right side of right and wrong for a very long time. And that hasn't done a damn thing when we didn't have no economic power to enforce our worldview on other people. And there are other areas where we can enforce power as well. When you talk about even things like politics, you know, I get a lot of pushback from people who felt like I should be a Democrat no matter what. And I said, no, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican either. I'm not either one. And when they tried to bully me, the more they tried to bully me, the more I told them to get out of my face. I told them, I'm gonna be honest, I told them to fuck off. I said, you're not gonna tell me what to do. I'm a man, damn it. You're not going to tell me what to do. That is not going to happen. Because what they'll do with black people is they love to mess with you, man. They love to just get you to give away the farm for free. They love to get you to follow the crowd. They love to make you feel like you're bad. Oh, you're a sellout. You're this, you're that. No, to hell with you. I don't need your validation, and I don't need your money. So what I would say to you is what financial security often help you do is it allows you to walk through the world and really be who you want to be and connect to God in the way that you feel appropriate. I see somebody's mentioning God, standing with God. Yeah, this is all about God. This is all about God. How many of you believe in God? Give me a yes if you believe in God. Give me a yes if you pray to God. Give me a yes if you go to church and think about God, or if God is part of your plan. Give me a yes. Like when I talk about God's plan, how many of you agree that there is a plan that God has for you in this world? Give me a yes if you're on that boat. I'm on, and I want to make that clear. I'm on the God boat. I'm team God, in my own way. I don't go to church because I don't need to give money to a pastor in order to connect to God. I cut out the middleman. So sorry, Jamal Bryant. I'm not gonna go to your church and have you preach a bunch of politics to me. I'm gonna connect to God in the way that my spirit tells me to do it. And I believe that when you talk about God's plan, everybody has one. And what happens, unfortunately, is that in the middle of you being called to God's plan for you being called to your purpose, you being called to do whatever you're supposed to do, you have these little demons in the world. And one of the biggest demons in the world is extreme capitalism. Typically, the demons become masters of capitalism, corrupt capitalism, and they use that power of corrupt capitalism to divert you from God's plan. They distract you from God's plan to go to man's plan. They might intimidate you away from going toward God's plan. Sometimes they might straight up kidnap you and pull you away from God's plan. So, in order for you to truly hear God, you've got to be able to overcome the demons that exist in this world. And most of those demons show up in your life dangling money or some sort of vice, some sort of temptation in front of you that causes you to be something other than who you're meant to be. I know I sound extra spiritual on this today, but I'm a spiritual person. I have to be honest. I think you can't really navigate this world as a black man and do your best as a human being without having some spirituality somewhere. This is all spirit talking. But when you're trying to connect to God's plan, there are other things. There's man's plan that tends to be whether it's connected to something related to money, because money is good. Money drives dopamine levels in your brain. You get money, you get all excited, you get financially desperate, you get nervous and scared and sweating, and you don't make moves because you ain't got enough money. So you got to fix that. Or maybe you're distracted. If you're a man, you could be distracted by women. That's the other thing too, right? You get some money. Next thing you know, all the girls think you're handsome, and you get the temptations of the flesh. And so next thing you know, you spend more time chasing women, Shannon Sharp, than you spend actually chasing your goals, and make yourself vulnerable. Maybe it's drugs. We have a lot of drug addictions that have impacted our community, driven us away from God's plan. So a lot of pursuing God's plan for you, I think, requires you to really meditate on that in terms of who you know that you're supposed to be, knowing what your purpose is, finding that purpose, and really, really, really aggressively committing to that purpose, and knowing that it's okay to have boundaries with the rest of the world, to just say, no, man, I'm not doing what y'all doing. I'm not, no, you back up, buddy. No, you're not going to pull me over in that direction. No, you're not going to tell me that I can't go start this business. You're not going to tell me that I can't go out here and help these babies. You can't tell me I can't go out here and do what I think is right in the world. Like, I'm not listening to you, because things will just call you. Like, the money will call you. A lot of do you know how many people lose track of their dreams because their dreams were basically assassinated by somebody offering them a paycheck? Like, do you know how many people probably work for like the New York Transit Authority, and who are like, like conductors of the subway trains? That's an important job, by the way. I'm not saying that's a bad job, but maybe that's not their first choice. And if you ask them, like, well, what did you want to do 20 years ago? A lot of them would say, no, I did not plan on doing this for the rest of my life. That was not my dream. That was not my goal. Now, I get it. If you grew up wanting to drive a bus, then God bless you. Driving buses is important. You got people's lives in your hands. We need people to do jobs like that. But if that wasn't your original plan, if that was not consistent with God's plan for you, then why are you driving a bus? Like, really, like, why are you driving a bus when you should be doing something else? And 9 times out of 10, what are they going to say? If I ask them and I say, you didn't plan to do this. This was not your plan for yourself. Why are you doing this instead of following God's plan? What do you think they're going to say? Tell me what the answer is going to be. Answer in the chat. The answer is going to be simple. I have to. And you say, well, why do you have to? That sounds like slavery. That doesn't sound like freedom. And you know what they're going to say? They're going to say, because I need the money. Because I need the money. So here's the point I want to make to you. I talked to a young brother today. We had a meeting of our mastermind today. And there was a guy in the mastermind who wanted me to meet his son. His son was $22 or 22 years old. I said $22. His son was 22 years old, and he had just graduated from college. And I was talking to his son in terms of um, what he would do with the rest of his life. And I told him something that I had told my daughter, and maybe you can tell your kids, maybe it'll help them too. I said, look, I said, look, if you want to be financially free, I said, the reason being financially free is so important is not because of the money. The money's the least interesting part of being financially free. The money part is nice, but the money's the least important part of being financially free. I said, being financially free is awesome because then you're free to do whatever you want in your life, right? You don't have to make your money in the same place where you do your job. You can pick a profession that you love and are passionate about and make, $10 an hour, but make your money through the stock market, right? So you don't have to make your money through the things that you do every day. So what I told them is I said, look, every young person, share this with your kids because I think it'll help them. I said, every young person, basically, if they want to be free, all they got to do is solve what I call the $5,000 problem. And the $5,000 problem is, can you find some way to make $5,000 a month without selling your time and selling your soul? Can you find a way to make $5,000 a month through stock investments, stock options, your business, or anything? Whatever. Like, can you solve the $5,000 problem? Because I said the difference between freedom and slavery for most people ain't nothing but $5,000 a month. Seriously, think about it. I thought about this when I was on the faculty of Syracuse. When I quit my job at Syracuse and I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I was like, I looked at how much money I made. And at that time, I was probably making about $12,000 a month. So I was making good money. But I thought about it and I said, what is the minimum amount of money I can make in a month and still be pretty comfortable, pay all the bills, have plenty of food, pay for the Wi-Fi, buy groceries and all that? And the number was actually much smaller than 12,000. I was actually, for me, it was like 3,000. And I was like, as long as I can make $3,000 a month, I'm straight. I don't have to go back to work anymore. Right? So for you and your kids, tell them, if you want them to have a target for financial independence, tell them about the $5,000 problem and just say, just figure out some way you can make $5,000 a month. And then that way, whenever you get a job, you'll never have to actually do the job. You'll never actually have to go to work. You can go to work because you want to, not because you have to. Like, those are two different things. When you have to do something, you're less happy. When you have to do something, you're not free. When you have to do something, you are in a situation that could be compared to a type of slavery, because slavery is the opposite of freedom. Freedom means doing what you want. So slavery means the opposite. Slavery means doing what somebody else told you to do. So that ability, just knowing, like, if I that I'm here because I want to be here, I'm choosing me, I'm choosing to be here. That's powerful, man. That means, you know what that means? That means you have choices. That means you have options. And you've heard me talk about options. I tell my kids all the time, I try to keep it real simple. I say, look, if you want to be successful in this world as a black person, just get yourself some damn options. Any situation you're not sure about, if you have options, you're going to be okay. When you go to college, make sure you got plenty of options. When you go look for a job, make sure you got plenty of options. When you're selling a product, have plenty of options. When you choose a career, have plenty of options. When you're dating, have plenty of options. Most of the time, the person who has the most options has the most power, because the whole world ain't nothing but a big ass negotiation. A lot of the world ain't nothing but a big old negotiation. Like Trump always talks about the art of the deal, making a deal. That's all you're doing is you're negotiating. Your boss says, I want to pay you 70,000. You say, I want 85. And he says, well, I'm not going to give you 85, right? So you got a choice. So the question is, do you have options? If you have no options, you're going to take that 70. But if you got options, you say, thank you, but I'm not interested. I'm out of here. I'm not going to take this job. And then the ball's in his court. Then he has the hard decision to make. Do I want to increase the pay, or do I want to lose a valuable, skilled person that can come and work with me? It's all about options, man. If you have options, you're going to win in life. Teach your kids to have options. So many of us teach us that, because so many of our people, our own damn people, make you think that being black is just depressing as shit. Like, they just make you think that being black means you ain't never got no choices, you ain't never got no options. Every dumb thing you did, every baby's mama you got, it wasn't your fault. Every baby daddy, every bad choice, every time you went to jail, every time you didn't read no books, it's always like you never had no choices because you were born poor and this, that, and the other. And I just think that that's such a disempowering and really a depressing way to live this one thing that you have, this one chance you have at this thing called life. Like you're only here one time. You might as well find a reason to be happy. You might as well find something in this world that can position you where you have a chance to win. And anybody who tells you that you can't win, no matter what, you got to question whether or not that person's your friend. How the hell am I really helping you when all I'm doing is telling you that you ain't got no power? There are people that do that. There are people that claim to empower black people by telling them that they ain't got no power. How am I empowering you by constantly reminding you of how powerless you are? That doesn't even make no sense. So my way of empowering you is challenging you and then reminding you of how powerful either you are or how powerful you can be if you embrace that power. If you embrace the challenge, if you embrace the personal development, if you embrace the growth, if you embrace the sacrifice, if you embrace all those things that make you powerful, then yes, you can be as powerful as anybody out here. You can't tell me that I can't do things that a white man can do. That would be weird. Why would you tell me that I can't do what he can do? I know that I can not only do what he can do, but I believe I can do it better. I think that's a very empowering way to look at the world, even if it's not even true, right? Even if it's aspirational, right? Like really, let's just be honest. Like, could I go build rocket ships like Musk? It would be really hard. I don't know how to get $100 billion to start a space company. So maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, but for the most part, you're not helping me by reminding me that of the fact that I'm disabled or somehow being black means that you're born with this natural handicap that you can never overcome no matter how hard you work. Then at that point what's going to happen is I'm going to just decide not to do the work. Like what you're doing is you're taking all the responsibility for my fate out of my hands and you're saying, you're a little boy, you're a kid, um you don't have the ability to shape your own destiny. So, therefore, we're just gonna get you a little wheelchair, roll you around like Billy on the little on those little long infomercials they do or whatever those fundraisers. Those remember those Jerry, not Jerry Springer, but you know what I'm talking about, Jerry Lewis fundraisers with the little handicapped kids. So that's how they do that. I think they do that with black people. They roll you around in a little wheelchair and have people feel sorry for you and make donations, and you don't even get the money. That's the funny part. So so I don't think that there's anything beneficial about that sort of message, right? Now, first of all, I want to say thank you. Somebody keeps on saying I should have a BET special. I see you in there. I can't read your name because I'm driving, but I appreciate it. And I can tell you this though, I don't want to go on BET, and I don't think the people on BET will ever accept someone like me. But then again, times change. You never know. But I had the a contention with the people at BET to the point where they were in a board meeting talking about me when I wrote an article about the way they were harming black people. This was about a decade ago. But sometimes regimes change, so you never know. Maybe somebody will come in there and they will reach out and connect. I have nothing against BET, but I do think that there is a concern about having this white-owned network that claims to control black culture. Like you can't do that with Jewish people. Like there'll never be a black-owned company that controls Jewish culture. They won't allow that. Unfortunately for black people, we're trained to allow these sorts of things. So BET is not a healthy place overall in general, and I'm not a big fan of BET in that regard. However, I have no animosity, and I do know that I did get a call once when I was out of the country to be on a BET TV show. I think they wanted me to be like a guest on some show and present as myself or something. I think it was a show about college students or something. And they needed a college professor. So they were going to have me like in a meeting as a college, playing myself or something. Like I was a professor at the school. But it never went through. We couldn't do it because I was out of the country at the time. So that's my interaction with BET. Nothing against BET, but that's not my jam. That's not my thing. I also think that um, legacy media, just that linear sort of standard cable is going out of style anyway, in financially and otherwise, which is good. The streaming services are kind of dominating those industries now, and so fortunately we have lots of content creators that are out there that are able to finally have a voice that they never had before. And I'm one of them. I mean, the fact that I had a few million followers, the fact that I've had almost a billion views on my different YouTube channels, that wouldn't have happened 20 years ago. So So there's still hope. So I'd say rather than spending our time talking about how terrible BET is, I'd rather talk about how amazing we are, right? Rather than me complaining about what BET's doing with their platform, I'd rather say like, what great things can we do on our platform? Like what can we do with our kids? What are we going to do for the future? And I think that's a better approach anyway. I don't want to sit around and just complain about BET all day. I'd rather talk about us because I can tell you the way economics works, which is very, very cool, is that if you train yourself when it comes to finances in a certain way, you can have an amount of control that far exceeds your population, your percentage of the population. Like if you have one, like think about it like this, and this is one of the reasons why we teach economics to kids in the Black Business School. My program is at Black Millionaires of Tomorrow, and also if you want to check out our flashcards and workbooks, the URL's right there on the screen is drboycebooks.com. That's drboycebooks.com. Well, one of the things that I've noticed is like when you have like one kid who understands leadership and understands delegation and understands team building, that one kid has an outsized impact on the rest of the group. Like that one kid can say, okay, you go over here, you stand over there, you do this and you do that, and people will take those orders because a lot of people don't know who they are or what they want to do. So they just listen to the person who seems to know what's going on, the person who appears to be the most competent. The person who appears the most competent becomes the alpha of the group automatically just due to the fact that they know what the hell's going on. So for example, for me to be an alpha as it pertains to economics, I don't have to run around and thump my chest and have a beard and drink whiskey and cuss people out to be the alpha. All I got to do is show up and I start talking about finances, and it's very easy for me because I have a doctorate in the field. And then before long, people start listening, right? I don't have to tell people that I'm the leader. I just show up and I show my competence, and that naturally leads to me having an outsized impact on the group because I know what's happening, I know what's going on. So that's why competence is so important. Like for the kids, like you got to train your kids not to be sort of these solo economic explorers where all they're thinking about is how can I get the best job? How can I get me a degree? How can I go and do something for me that's going to make sure that I'm going to be okay and I'm going to have a nice car and a nice house and I'm going to get the promotion? You want them to be thinking about we. You want them to say, like, how can we elevate economically? How can we go out here and build something amazing? How can we go develop something economic and powerful that's going to change lives? Because what happens is we includes I. Like the word we should not be spelled W-E. The word we is not spelled W-E. The word we is spelled W-I-E. Just like the Nintendo Wii. W-I-E. It's because if you take care of we, then you're taking care of me. Right? If you're taking care of everybody, then you're included in the group. Do you understand? Right? So don't think that caring about the group means that you can't care about yourself. Of course you're gonna care about yourself. Don't think that making your kids wealthy means that you can't make yourself wealthy. I need you to be wealthy too. I want you to have nice stuff. I want you to have financial freedom. How the hell am I going to tell you to sacrifice to get somebody else free when you don't get an opportunity to be free? I want you to benefit as well. So the word we, W-I-E, is the best way to describe the training that our kids can get. Stop just focusing on the I because you're going to miss the rest of the damn word. You've taken a three-letter word and turned it into one letter. And then what happens is you get these one-off success stories. Well, here's a Negro who grew up in the projects and had no money, and he was so poor he couldn't he was eating mayonnaise sandwiches with no mayonnaise, and he got shot in the leg 9 times, and now he's a billionaire. Look at him now. I don't give a damn about that. Who cares if one person is successful? What you want, remember, the remedy for systematic racism is systematic success, not individual success. Now, if you are fighting individual racism, then individual success might do the trick, right? If a lady at the grocery store says, I don't like black people and I don't like you, and you decide you want to slap the taste out of her mouth, that's individual. That's one mano a mano. That's one person on one person. You can win that fight. But the thing about racism that you have to understand is that racism is a system. Do you understand? Do you get the difference between systematic racism and individual racism? Systematic racism means that there were systems, there were laws designed to keep you where you are. There are systems designed to keep you out of the party. There are systems designed to extract your wealth. There are systems designed to keep you away from opportunities. There are systems. So, in order for you to fight those systems, you got to have a system. In order for you to even build a system, you got to be a systematic thinker. Most people can't even think about economics in the systematic framework. Most people are thinking about it like, well, how much is I gonna get paid? How much is my paycheck gonna be? That's not a systematic thinker. A systematic thinker isn't thinking like, well, I'm gonna go to work 40 hours a week so I can get a paycheck and I can take care of me. I get that, but a systematic thinker is a person who says, if we form a team and we develop 5,000 units of the product and we sell those 5,000 units for $10 a piece, we can make $50,000 and give employment to 10, 15, 20 people. We can elevate the lives of lots of people, including the boss. I mean, if you're the originator and the leader, and the risk taker, you deserve some disproportionate credit and reward for the risk you're taking. You deserve that. So that means you get to get rich too. But then also you have a collection of people that are benefiting from what you're doing. And this systematic thinking, not only has it always been we've been sort of taught to ignore that because American Eurocentric capitalism is very individualistic. So you've been trained to cut that out of your system, but so it doesn't just affect your inability to to build businesses. It also affects your ability to build families. A lot of people can't build a family because they're too selfish. Tell me if I'm lying. Tell me how many women you've seen who can't be good wives because they don't even care about submitting to the family. They don't have any respect for anybody. They just want to be loud and obnoxious and irritating and mean and bitter and disrespectful and they think that's okay. And next thing you know, they don't understand why men don't want to be around them. And then how many times have you seen men, these little bitchy, jealous men, little weak men who are like, well, I don't care nothing about your kids. I'll take you to McDonald's, but I'm not gonna buy nothing for your 2 year old. And I don't want to. I don't want to be in a relationship. Relationships are hard work. It's like a job. It's too hard, right? And that comes down to people making a simple calculation. The simple calculation is, why would I work hard for the group when I could just take care of me? The world is telling me to take care of me. So why am I taking care of other people? That makes me stupid. That makes me a sucker. That makes me a simp. But here's the thing. What you got to understand is that there is a rule of economic power. And this rule is called reciprocity. Reciprocity is what makes an ecosystem operate. Reciprocity is what makes the engine move. Reciprocity means that you sacrifice gas into the tank because the gas will then run the engine that will run the car. Reciprocity means that I give so that I can receive that, and the more I want to receive, the more I give. Reciprocity means I pour into you because you're going to pour into me because we're all playing the same game. Reciprocity creates power. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to invite you guys on a black movie night, and we're going to go into a Zoom, and we're going to watch the movie, The Godfather. And the reason I want us to watch the movie, how many of y'all seen The Godfather? Any of y'all seen The Godfather? I'm gonna have you watch the movie The Godfather with me, and I'm gonna pause it because the whole movie The Godfather, it all it's about is economics. I don't know if y'all know that. That's an economic movie through and through. Every message in The Godfather is economics, economics, economics. And and one thing about that movie in the very beginning is the Godfather was sitting there, and it was the day of his daughter's wedding. And apparently, the Sicilians have a rule that says that you cannot refuse a favor on the day of your daughter's wedding. So on that day, all these people were lining up, going to the Godfather, kissing his ring, and asking for favors from the Godfather. And the Godfather, this powerful man who ain't got to do shit for nobody now. You're the Godfather. Why are you serving people? You ain't got to do nothing for nobody. But the Godfather would sit there and hear people ask for favors, and he would agree to do the favors. Well, that's a simp. Why would he be simping and doing nice stuff for people? Like, what's wrong? I mean, that's a punk. What's wrong with this man? Well, if you're smart, if you understand that 2 + 2 = 4, which unfortunately half the internet doesn't seem to understand that. Half the internet doesn't understand that you give to receive. You'll know that when the Godfather basically said, if I do this for you, you will owe me a favor. And when I call you for this favor, and that day may never come, I expect you to serve the Godfather when the time comes. So he wasn't doing stuff for other people because he was stupid or trying to be nice. He was doing stuff for other people because he knew that that was going to benefit his family. He did stuff for other people because he knew that if I do a favor for you, you're going to do a favor for me. You pour into others, and you pour into groups, and you pour into systems so that the group and the system will pour into you. Do you understand what I am saying? This is the secret to economic power. If you want to be a winner, you must be a giver. If you're not a giver, then you ain't going to win shit. If you are nothing but a taker, then you're gonna be sitting there stuck on a little island, and all you're gonna have is whatever it was you were lucky enough to take and scrape and steal from other people. Because ain't nobody gonna want to pour into you, ain't nobody gonna be there for you, ain't nobody gonna reciprocate for you, because you ain't nothing but a goddamn thief. So to, if you want to win, if you want to win in business, be a giver. If you want to win in relationships, be a giver. If you want to win in family, be a giver. But you have to be a giver with discernment. That's important too. I write about this a lot in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. You can get a copy. If you go to drboycebooks.com, you can find a copy of the book. So in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, we don't just talk about being a giver and pouring into others as a way for personal success, but also in the book, I talk about discernment. I talk about love for others, but love for others must include yourself. Remember, the word we is not spelled W-E. The word we is spelled W-I-E. The Nintendo we. So you're pouring into the we because you haven't forgotten about the I. You love others, but you love yourself as much as you love other people. You're as kind to yourself as you are to others. So what does that mean? Why is that important? Well, because once you learn how to be a giver, you have to have, as Valerie Williams is accurately saying, you have to have discernment. That is where you come down to where you really value yourself enough to say, wait, I got this good loving. I'm a hell of a giver. I'm pouring in. I'm a great investor. But just like any other investor, whether you're investing money, investing time, investing energy, or investing love, like any other investor, you're gonna do your due diligence. See, in order to build wealth, give me a yes if you understand. I'm gonna make this simple. Tell me if you agree with this assessment. To build wealth, you must be a diligent investor. Do we understand that part? Give me a yes if you get that. Some of y'all might be new, but a lot of you are not. You've probably heard me talk a lot. You understand that wealth in America is due to investing. Those who don't invest don't tend to have any wealth. Let me know if you understand that. To be a wealth builder, to have money, power, success, investments must be consistently made. And it's simple, but I have to start there because you'd be amazed how many people think they're gonna get rich, but they ain't invested a damn thing in nothing. That's crazy. How the hell you think you're gonna be ready for the Olympics when you eating Cheetos and ain't got up off the couch? That don't make no damn sense. That's not logical. Okay, so give me a yes if you understand this point. Good investors do not invest in just anything. Good investors do not throw their money around and throw their money at every project that comes along, right? Just because I might have invested $1 billion, that don't mean I'm gonna put money into every project, right? Good investors don't do that. Let me know if you can understand that. Good investors take their time. Good investors do due diligence. They say, yeah, hell yeah, I'm a hell of an investor. Yeah, I'm rich and I know it. And yeah, I'm ready to throw it out there, right? Or I know that my sex is good and I know you want it. But what does a diligent investor do when they do their due diligence? They say, "Yeah, I know you want what I got. Financially, I know you want my friendship. I know you want me in your life. I know you want my time. I know you want my money. I know you want something else, whatever it is you want. But I'm going to do my due diligence to make sure that I'm investing with accurate discernment. I get to make sure that you're playing the same game I'm playing. So I need to make sure that, so before I do a favor for you, I need to make sure that you understand the game. The game we're playing is I pass you the ball, you pass me the ball. I hook you up, you hook me up. I take care of you, you gonna take care of me, right? And then also I'm gonna assess as to whether or not you even have the ability to take care of me. Because that's the problem. Some of y'all end up in situations where you're pouring into people who don't have the desire nor the capacity to pour back. Their financial consciousness is at some horrific low because they grew up in a scarcity environment where you take what you can get and then you move on. People who live in a scarcity traumatized environment, they don't understand reciprocity all the time. You ever have kids that when you were little, did anybody ever have like your cousins come to your house and stay with you? Maybe you got a cousin where there ain't a lot of food in the house, and then your mama puts a whole lot of food on the table, and they grab a whole lot of the food and put it in their pocket, and they try to make sure they eat first because they come from a scarcity environment. They come from a space where food was scarce. So for some people, if they come from with a scarcity mindset, if they are traumatized significantly, if they haven't healed, if they haven't committed to having the trust required to play the higher level game, those individuals can become takers. Like you have a relationship and you've learned how to be the perfect husband, but you marry a woman who hasn't ever gone to see a therapist in her life and doesn't ever want to heal from her trauma, then you're gonna get used up. She's gonna destroy you. Same thing. If you're a woman and you love to give and whatever your time and energy and love to a man, and he's never been trained to understand the importance of him giving back, then you're gonna feel used. You're gonna feel hurt. You're gonna feel like somebody stole something from you. So the same thing is true with investing. If you are a diligent investor financially, and you are not having discernment about what you invest in, if you're not taking the time to do your due diligence on where you're putting your assets, then eventually your assets will leave you. You will have nothing. The world will suck you dry because that's the world we live in. So what I would say to you is twofold. The path to wealth is very straightforward. Start with that word we, W-I-E. I'm taking care of me because I'm taking care of us because I'm included in the group too. So when I feed the village, I'm feeding Boyce. We all gonna eat good, right? So you start with that word we, W-I-E, and then what we do is we say, my goal is to be wealthy, which means I'm going to be a hell of an investor. I'm going to invest my ass off. I don't dread the sacrifice. I look forward to the sacrifice. I love the sacrifice. I admire the chance. What can I give? What more can I do? I know I have what it takes, but I know it's going to take everything I have, but I'm ready. I'm okay with that. But then the third element is that I have to take the time to have that discernment to make sure that when I show up and I give you my all, I'm giving it in a place where reciprocity is the rule of the day. Because I can promise you this, look, if you get into a good reciprocal situation in a business relationship, personal relationship, or any relationship where everybody's playing the reciprocity game and everybody's playing the heavy investor game, and everybody's pouring into each other and everybody's ready to make the sacrifice, you're going to have prosperity. You're going to have group wealth. You're going to have success at an unbelievable level. That's the key to power in America. That's the key to wealth. So I hope this was helpful to you. I hope that what I said benefited you in some way. Um, Let me know, were you guys able to hear me the whole time? Because I've been driving. I had to make a trip suddenly for some family stuff, and so, but I was on the road, and I said, maybe I can talk to everybody for a few minutes to see if they can hear me. Let me know if you want me to do more of this. I can do this. If I am driving, I just don't. I just never know if if it sounds crazy for me to be trying to talk while I'm driving or not. What do y'all think? Did you think it worked okay? Just like give me like some feedback. I'm gonna try to glance down the comments because I want to know if this actually worked. Um, I want to remind everybody that if you want to be in spaces with amazing people, the All Black National Convention is the greatest convention on the planet for intelligent Black people who want to build, who are family oriented, who really want to leave the nonsense behind and truly build generational legacies. So feel free to go to allblacknationalconvention.com. And it's going to be in Atlanta, August 21st to the 23rd. We have hundreds of chapters of the Black Chamber of Commerce that will be there, people that you can do business with. We're going to have 6 African presidents and their delegations coming, according to Dr. Ken Harris. The president of Tuskegee University is going to be there. There's going to be a lot of amazing people there. Chris Broussard, who's on Fox Sports, he's going to be one of our speakers. He's a strong brother and he's just a great Black man, and I'm honored that he's going to join us. And we're going to have some other amazing people. Former NFL star Ben Watson, who played for the Patriots for 16 years. He's a great brother. He played in the NFL 16 years. He's built like a freaking gladiator, and but he wasn't out messing around and chasing women. He actually has been married to his wife 20 years and has 7 kids, and he's a real solid guy. And I got Ben to agree to come to the convention. So we're gonna have some really great people there. Or I think I talked to Ben. I gotta call him and make sure I did. I think I talked to him. Ben, if you're listening, man, just know it's me. Maybe my brain is hallucinating right now, so I gotta call you, brother. But anyway, so the convention's amazing. If you want to join us, bring your family, bring your friends, bring whoever is ready, like whoever has the right mindset. It's a very peaceful, loving space. So if you want to join us, feel free to go to allblacknationalconvention.com. And also, you guys know we do our Money in the Morning class. So if you want to join us every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern to talk about economics, just text the word morning to the phone number 87948. So text morning to 87948. And as your kids get ready for the summer, feel free to take a look at our financial flashcards and workbooks that we have for kids. The workbooks are really popular. You can go to drboycebooks.com. That's our Black Wealth Mastery store. And also, my book is there, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, as well as a bunch of other stuff. You can just stroll around and see if you see anything that you like. All right, guys. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. Let me hang up this phone. This is real. I'm going to try it. Since this worked this time, I'm going to try it again. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Peace.